Sorry, swallowing. Hey, welcome to day 9 of the Get Up and Go Challenge. Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here. Today we are talking about, yesterday we talked about the change reaction when we face a challenge or a change in our environment and our life, something that impacts us. How do we automatically react and respond? How have we reacted and responded in the past? And we got curious about it, we investigated, and we listed out, if you're like me, you listed out all of the ways that you've tended to respond to challenges and changes in the past. Now, today we are going to look at changing your reaction. And we're going to go deep into this throughout the rest of the challenge. But today we're just going to do something that I learned from Lynn Grabhorn. She wrote a book called Excuse Me, Your Life is Waiting. And following my sudden cardiac arrest, I needed to make a lot of changes in my life. I faced the ultimate challenge of dropping dead and still waking up from the coma to figure out what had gone wrong and what I was going to do about it for the rest of my life. And as part of that, one of my mentors, Jim Edwards, at the time, recommended that I do this playbook by Lynn Grabhorn, which is actually laying on my bed right now because I'm going through it again in 2020. 2020 was such a bizarre year. I thought, oh, this is a great year to take that book off the bookshelf and go through the exercises again. Anyway, in there, she talks about something extensively called flip switching. And it's just like flipping a light switch, right? Turning a light switch on and off. We have the ability as human beings to look at things however we choose. Any way we want to look at something, we can look at it. We can look at the positives, all the things that are great about the situation, about our life, about our circumstances, about our friends, our family, about any aspect of our life, or we can look at the negative. And the only difference is, and it's as easy as flipping a light switch for us to choose which we want to look at. Now, it doesn't always feel that way when you're in the throes of a challenge or in the throes of a negative experience. I mean, when COVID-19 first hit in March and all of us were getting locked down and shut down and our lives were changing like the flip of the switch, we had a choice to make whether we realized it or not. We could just whine and complain, bitch and moan, resist, deny, ignore, act like victims, get upset, get angry, get frustrated, push against, do nothing. We had all kinds of things we could do, and many of us did do, he included. We could procrastinate, whatever. And focus on the problem and how we were missing out and how our life had changed and all of the things that we cannot do. Or we could flip the switch and we could focus on solutions. We could focus on the things that we can do. Because guess what? So we can't go out to our favorite restaurants. We can't go to concerts. We can't go to big organized gatherings and state fairs and things that we love to go to, but there's still infinite things that we can do, right? So we can focus on what we can't do, or we can focus on what we can't do. And it's as easy as flipping a switch to make that happen. Now, I actually will visualize in my head sometimes when I catch myself in a negative loop, flipping a switch, turning the switch, flipping the light on, because I want to see the light in the situation. I want to be more aware and more open to the possibilities. So what I'm doing today for my homework and as a project is I'm taking all of these things that I used to do and I'm asking myself, what else is possible? And sometimes it's just, what is the opposite of that particular thing? If I am resisting or denying or ignoring something, what's the opposite of that? Well, I can accept it. I can accept what is. We can push against, we can deny, we can resist, we can pretend it doesn't exist, we can pretend it didn't happen about COVID-19 as much as we want, but we're like living in a la-la land because it absolutely positively did. So as much as we want to stick in all of these negative ways of feeling about it, or getting mad or angry or upset or being victimized by it, it doesn't change the fact that it absolutely positively did happen. Do we maybe think things should have been done differently or handled differently? It doesn't matter. What has happened has already happened. We can never change the past. So we just have to go ahead and deal with it. And the one thing we can change, the one thing we always have the power to do, is change and control and manage our own personal reactions to things, our own actions to things. And that's what today is all about. It's about taking back our personal power and saying, yeah, all this bad stuff has happened. I've had all these challenges in my life, but I don't have to accept them as final or as the way they were. I can look at them and I can say, what did I learn from this? What's the lesson in this? What's the solution in this? And whenever we do that, whenever we learn a lesson, whenever we are better because of an event or an experience that we've had, then we win. And that's what our life is all about, is stacking up all those wins and all those experiences to create the life that we want. So what I'm doing today, and what I already did actually, but not in my workbook. This is actually my book. Remember day one, we said get a paper and pencil, and this is where I'm actually doing all my homework, the action items for the day. So yesterday I wrote the list, and then I thought, okay, well, for day 9, I'm just going to do the opposite. That's the action I'm going to do. And then what we're going to share is what's one new thing that I want to do, or that you want to do, based on the list and the flipping these things around. So say I automatically procrastinate when a change or a challenge happens into my life. Excuse me. Now, I may be admitting that I actually do that, and I actually do. Excuse my throat. When there's a change or a challenge that impacts me in my life, the first thing I do, I don't think I've shared this story, but I am a no first person. And I'm not a no first because I'm contrary and I don't want to do things. I say no first to buy myself a little bit of decision-making time. I did this raising my kids, which they hated, and they saw through it pretty quickly. But it was a way for them. They would ask me if they could do something, and I would say no. Instead of saying, let me think about it, or maybe, I would just say no. And they came to understand that no meant in 5 minutes, I was buying myself 5 minutes of time to think about your request and then decide how I really wanted to respond, versus excuse me, automatically just responding and reacting. Because guess what? If I automatically and responded with my mom filter on, I was always worried something was going to happen to my kids, right? It's natural. We worry about, and we want our kids to always be safe. And so if they wanted to do something dangerous, like snowboard down a mountain, I would want to say no. But I knew that they're awesome snowboarders and they would love to go do it. And why would I deprive them of that experience just because I was afraid for them? It's silly. So I always would say no first. Same thing with a change or a procrastination. I will procrastinate, and I'm not really procrastinating. I'm buying myself cheat time to think about how I really want to respond to something. Now, if somebody really triggers me, I'm going to respond immediately, but I always regret it because I don't want my first emotional response to usually be the response that other people have to deal with or are stuck experiencing. So how do we switch these things around? And then what is one thing about how I've behaved in the past or currently that I would like to change? I really sincerely would like to change. And I'm going to commit to that thing. I'm going to commit to doing this on the fly, which is really hard. I'm going to commit to finding a better way to deal with challenges and changes than procrastinating. And I'm committing right now that I'm going to do that. I'm going to find a better way. So what are some of the ways that I can flip my things around and that I did, so I can give you some examples? If I'm feeling resistance, I will accept what is. If I'm feeling procrastination, actually I do the same thing with frustration. When I notice that I'm feeling frustrated, it's always because, and it took me years to figure this one out, it's always because I am thinking and expecting the current situation, the present moment, to be different than it is. And when it's different than what I expect it to be in my mind, I get frustrated. And so I am actually working on reducing and eliminating frustration from my personal experience. And I'm making it harder and harder and harder for me to actually feel the feeling of frustration. I want to do the same thing with procrastination. I want to take procrastination, and instead of using that as a go-to response to when I'm feeling changed or challenged, I want to substitute that with something else, probably with some kind of an analysis or a decision-making tool that will help me decide faster, so I can, instead of procrastinate, I can just find a positive way to buy myself time. So if I'm complaining or bitching, moaning, or whining about something, I will take the emotion out of it. Going forward, I will try to take the emotion out of it. That's the flipping the switch on that. If I'm acting like a victim, or like I want to blame somebody for something, or if I'm upset or angry or negative, I want to get excited. I want to look for the lesson and the blessing and the the gift in the situation, because as much as we hate and are struggling with and frustrated over the COVID-19 pandemic, there are positive impacts that it's had on each and every one of our lives. Yep, there's been negative, but there's been positive impacts on each and every one of our lives as well. And we want to recognize those. And then whenever I think, one of my things on my list was to do nothing, freeze, no action. I'm going to get up and go. I am not going to allow myself to stay frozen and think and believe I don't know what to do. There's nothing I can do, because we always know what to do. And we only ever have to take that first baby step. We don't have to solve the whole problem. We just have to take one action, one move, one step toward what it is that we want. And even the ultimate solution. We probably don't even know the ultimate solution for us right now, given a change or a challenge. But we do know that we always have the ability to change the way we feel and think and believe, and what emotions we're pulling up about a topic or a situation. And we always can move one step, one tiny baby step in the direction we want to go. So that is our topic for today. Again, flip switch. Take the way you used to do it and flip it or change it, and ask yourself, what else is possible? What could I do instead of resisting, denying, ignoring, procrastinating, complaining, being angry or upset, whining, focusing on the problem? Let's focus on the solution. That's a really easy one to flip switch. If I'm focusing on the problem, which actually all of those old ways of dealing with change and challenges are focusing on the problem. And as soon as we flip to focusing on the solution, guess what? Our energy automatically becomes more positive and starts looking for ways and focusing on what we can do instead of what we can't do. And then share one thing that you would like to change, but not only that you'd like to change about the way you've responded in the past, but one thing that you're committed to change. And tomorrow we are going to jump into our framework for change that we will install in our subconscious, and guarantee it will give you better results after every change or challenge that you face than before. All right, have a fantastic day. If I can help you anyway, any questions, hit me up in the comments below. Otherwise, go do your homework on the homework or playwork thread, and I will be with you tomorrow.